Hello, so today we're going to be doing the poem Piteous, My Rhyme Is by Christina Rossetti. And our LO today is to consider how love is presented in Rossetti's poem. So please make sure that you have the poem in front of you and any contextual notes that you may wish to add to or refer to in this lesson. So our entry task today is just, I'd like you to define what you think love is. What is love? And then my subsequent question to that is there actually a good definition of love? As in, can it be defined? Can the full nuanced idea of love, can it ever truly be defined? So consider those two ideas before you move on. So our poem today is Piteous My Rhyme Is. So piteous my rhyme is, what while I muse of love and pain, of love misspent, of love in vain, of love that is not loved again. And is this all then, as long as time is, love loveth. Time is but a span, the dalliance space of dying man. And is this all immortals can? The gain were small then. Love loves for ever, and finds a sort of joy in pain, and gives with naught to take again, and loves too well to end in vain. Is the gain small then? Love laughs at never, outlives our life, exceeds the span appointed to mere mortal man. All which love is, and does, and can, is all in all then. Okay, so it's actually quite a bit of a tongue twister when you read it out loud, so do give that a go yourself. It's quite a difficult one, but I mean, what do you think the poem is about? I'll give you a clue. It's said about 1,000 times in the poem, but what specifically about love is relevant? And you know, what is she trying to say? What is the speaker expressing? Do have a think about Rossetti's romantic life as well. So the summary then. So the poem begins with the speaker stating that her musings on love are piteous. So, you know, to be pitied. She's been unable to realise the true joy of the experience because she's been so consumed by the pain and worry that sometimes comes along with it. The speaker has come to the conclusion that love is immortal, just like the souls of those who experience it. And then in the second half of the poem, so the second stanza, she speaks on how love transcends the lives it touches. It lasts far beyond the sight of humankind, reaching out, touching it, and influencing everything. Okay, so she's trying, it's almost like she's trying to define what love is, and she kind of thinks she doesn't succeed. You can't, I don't believe, define love, but it's this idea that, you know, she's been unable to experience true joy of love because she's consumed by pain and worry. And you know, there are romantic relationships in this world that feel like that. You know, they might be the most happy couple in the world, but you know, at times there will be doubts and worries potentially. I don't know. And then the second stanza, you know, this idea that it transcends everything it lives, it touches. So love is all powerful. Love spreads everywhere, and it's more than just the couple. It can, you know, spread out, I guess is the word. And then the obvious theme, love, what love represents, what love is, and ultimately speaks come to the conclusion that love is everything and surpasses all. So the first stanza then. So piteous my rhyme is, what whilst I muse of love and pain, of love misspent, of love in vain, of love that is not loved again. And is this all then? As long as time is, love loveth. Time is but a span, the dalliance space of dying man. And is this all immortals can? The gains were small then. So the first word, the adjective, piteous, it adds emphasis to the sadness. This is a sad opening to the poem, considering, you know, it is about love. So sad, my rhyme is, when I muse of love and pain. You know, I feel sad that with one comes the other, love and pain. In that second line, and then from then on, love's misspent, of love in vain, of love that is not loved again. The poet lists loves that have failed. The repetition of the word forming a hypnotic refrain. So love here, love there, love. It's almost hypnotic. But she is listing love that have failed. And then that rhetorical question after it implies that love doesn't give much. So is that it? Is that all love is then? The short line suggests love has limitations, as if, there's nothing more to say about it. Um, but then she goes on, as long as time is, love loveth. So as long as there is time, there is love. Because love can't just go away. But time only exists for a short period, therefore love is also brief, and therefore meaningless, is what she's sort of trying to say. Time, so she's sort of saying that as long as there is time, there is love. But if your time on earth is short, therefore your love is short, which means love is brief, because of course we don't live forever, and therefore love is meaningless. Is, this implication that because it can only go from, I don't know, let's say 40, 50, 60 years maximum, it's meaningless. That's kind of what she's trying to imply there. And then the next bit, love loveth, she's personifying love, so love loves love. The dalliant space of dying man. So this negativity about love continues. In Rossetti's negative world, time is brief, but a span, and worse it is the dalliant space of dying man, meaning that humanity's stay on earth is trivial and pointless and short. Man is dying, implying that his existence is only to progress towards death. This is not a happy poem, in case you thought the adjective at the start was, going to be displaced somehow. The next two lines, and is this all immortals can? The gain was small then. So even immortals gain nothing from love. Love loves forever, and finds a sort of joy in pain, and gives with naught to take again, and loves too well to end in vain. Is the gain small then? Love laughs at never, outlives our life, exceeds the span appointed to mere mortal man. All which love is, and does, can, is all in all then. So bear in mind, in the first stanza, she's basically said, love is meaningless, love is pointless, what's the point? This stanza is very different. Love is everything, is the gist of this one, I suppose. So the first one, love loves forever. So it's assertive. This first line is optimistic, going against the idea of the first stanza. The tone is very different from the first one. And finds a sort of joy in pain. So bear in mind, before she talks about love and pain in the second line of the first stanza. In this one, she's talking about it now. There is a sort of joy. Finds a sort of joy in pain. There is happiness. There is some happiness that can be had. There is this. It's an oxymoron. Joy, pain, the opposites. But she's acknowledging that love does exist in pain. Just because there is pain doesn't mean love hasn't occurred. And gives with naught to take again, that's an oxymoron again, meaning that love is complete in itself. Next section, and loves too well to end in vain, is the gain small then? So this line matches those in the previous stanza with the meaning inverted. When love loves too well, it can't end in vain. So the answer to the rhetorical question must be that the gain is large, not small. So it's going against what the first stanza said when it asked a similar question. Love laughs at never, outlives our life, exceeds the span appointed to mere mortal man. So where the immortals in the first stanza have a small gain, the mortals in stanza 2 have triumph. The personified love, because obviously in the first stanza it's personified of love loveth. This one, love laughs and continues beyond the span of human life. So love just doesn't end when we die. The love goes on. And all which love is and does and can is all in all then. So she finishes by asserting that love is everything. Which is, of course, good. But you've got to consider that from Rossetti's point of view. Now, bear in mind, she turned down men, etc., and turned to God. But that doesn't mean she didn't believe in love. And she certainly believed in love of God. But, she often talks about her friends, etc., in their lives and enjoying their lives. So she will have been around love and can acknowledge that while love can cause pain, it can also cause great joy as well. And love doesn't just involve the two people who are in love. It can spread, the happiness around. What I'd like you to do is have a consideration of how love is presented in memory and a poem of your choice. Now, I'm going to tell you now. The poem you're going to choose is Piteous, My Rhyme Is. Now, I've picked memory for you. Um, you will know why, and I would like you to consider why I've picked that poem for you, actually, rather than me telling you. But how is love presented in the two of them? So have a look through both poems again, consider their structure, their form, their language, and of course the context, and come up with a plan of how you would answer that question, which has come up previously. Further research for this poem, because it can be quite a confusing one, do look at the poemanalysis.com website for, again, a very quick revision resource for this poem. It's not anything amazing, but at the same time, it's a good basis to start on if you're truly stuck. And then if you go to that YouTube video, listen to the analysis of some of the poems that they talk about. They talk about a number of poems there. Do just skip over the ones that we don't do. I mean, you've seen the list of the ones we do, and we've studied most of them now. But just have a look and see if you can add anything to any of your notes. And then do just make sure that you have completed your A3 grid with your notes on the poem.